Check 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate?
Yes!
Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need. Get over the fear and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello, everybody. Michael Quarles with podcast 78. Man, this podcast was fun. I was being interviewed by Aaron Norris, and he was grilling me about marketing, all kinds of different types of marketing approaches and things we do and how we do what we do. And man, I thought we would share it with you. Hope you enjoy it. Here we go.
Hey everybody, it's Aaron Norris subbing in for Bruce today, and I'm very excited to welcome back Michael Quarles for the second time. Michael Quarles is a broker, investor, and builder who has done over 1,000 deals. He started investing as a teenager doing construction on a duplex, made every mistake possible, but survived to tell a story. After doing over 200 deals in 2005, several people asked how on earth that was possible, and his reply, marketing and negotiation. Subsequently, Michael launched YellowLetters.com, which has become the nation's leader in direct mail marketing for real estate investors. He also launched Buy, Sell, Fix, Flip Academy, which helps investors succeed in the real estate investing business. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Yes, I'm super excited to do the marketing side, as I do a lot of that for the Norris Group. And I have to say, direct mail is probably one of my weakest points and why we do quite a bit of it. Everything's always changing. So when did you realize marketing was a critical piece of the real estate business?
Gosh, I think I realized that probably 25 years ago when I wanted my phone to ring and I couldn't figure out how to do it except spend money on marketing. And then I quickly learned, after reading and trial and error and what have you, realize that the more you do, the more that you get. And so, yeah, it's key to success.
Now, did you have any formal training, or this was all just picking up books at the store and library and going at it?
I felt like I was a caveman. I had no formal training in it, and it was absolutely trial and error. So, but it was okay because, in those days, there weren't a lot of people wanting to do what I wanted to do. And so there really wasn't anybody to ask. And so eventually you just had to do it yourself and figure out what worked, what didn't work. And I came to the conclusion that some things absolutely do work well. And there are those things, no matter how good you do them, that they just don't work.
Yeah, test, launch, and repeat, and always tweaking stuff, right?
You tweak. We have we spend a lot of money on phone numbers just so we know what works and what doesn't work. We spend a lot of money on different types of lists to prove that we're doing it, the best way possible. Because, one thing I hear a lot when I help people is, I'm getting this great response rate. And I said, are you sure? And they ask me why. And I said, well, have you tested it? Because you might be able to get a better response rate if you start testing. And I can hear the pause on the phone because they thought they were doing the great job, and they might be doing the great job, but there might be just a better one.
Right, just a little tweak can go a long way. And what's interesting is technology has really revolutionized the space. And I think I remember from the session you did last week with Dad that you started in the 80s. What was the marketing market like then? Were papers really, those classified ads were...
Classified ad pretty much was it. We tried all kinds of things. Eventually we took our classified ad and turned it upside down. So it was the only ad on the newspaper upside down. So you had to turn the newspaper around so you could read it. And then we put circles, hand-scribbled circles around the ad. So it was the ad. And we tried circle ads. We tried... rectangle ads with, chicken scratch squares around it. The circles worked better. And inevitably, it fell back to what do we do for a prospect? Well, we buy a house for cash as fast as they want. And those are the key terms that people are looking for. And so that's what we said. And we just made it apparent that that's what we did. We knew that homeowners who were looking to sell a house, that's one of the first places they would go to is the newspaper just to see what their house would be worth rather than calling a realtor or what have you. That's the first spot they would go to. So I would put my classified ad not in the houses wanted section, but the houses for sale section, and got the prospect there.
Interesting. And now that we've gone a lot more online, are you still doing newspaper print classifieds?
No, it's a dead art, and we used to do heck, it's been a few years, but we used to do full page newspaper ads, so full color, full page, the whole thing. I wouldn't do that now because the $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 that would cost to run that ad, I can spend that on a better media piece and get a better return. Right now we're averaging about $1,400 for each house we buy, and we want to keep that cost as low as we can, and so I have to be picky.
Yeah, that cost per conversion, whenever I get print media calling me wanting to sell me on an ad, I'm like, I'm so sorry you're competing against the digital space where I cannot only, measure impressions, I'm measuring click-throughs, but the ultimate is the conversion rate and what it's costing me per conversion.
Right.
So,
and a lot of people don't understand that, it's not even, because a lot of real estate investors that are new in the business, they look at, what's the percentage of calls? I could care less what the percentage of calls is. I want to know what's the percentage of people that sign my contract. And ultimately, at the end of the day, compare that number against my net number off those contracts. Because I know if I'm somewhere between an 8 and a 12 multiplier, that I'm okay. I'm actually right now about a 22% multiplier, so I'm doing better, and I'll take that.
When you say 22% multiplier, what do you mean?
If I spend $1,000, I'll make $22,000.
Oh, got it. That's wow. Okay. You do a lot of. We're going to get talking in the mix in a second. I wanted to get to target audience and list really quick, and then we're going to work our way down. So you obviously do a lot of homework up front to make sure you're targeting the right people. And in the last show, you talked a lot about algorithms. So can you share a little bit about the lists, where you're getting it, and how you're thinking about who you're going to target?
Well, we get, most list providers, they all filter down from CoreLogic, which is First American Title kind of thing. So we get our list through that arena. And it's who's on our list, or how are they qualified to be there? Naturally, being a wholesaler, which is a person who flips equity-based properties, I have to see an equity base in the property. And my number is a minimum of 30%.
Okay, 30% minimum. How accurate do you feel those lists are? Are they doing a pretty good job keeping those up to date?
Well, I have to believe, and I do believe, that they're the best source. And so how accurate they are, it's not as relative. I haven't seen that their inaccuracy that large to cause me not to. But again, if I'm looking at a 30% equity base, and I know because we're running a monthly chart on what our market's doing, our markets are climbing on a monthly basis. So the 30 that I buy is probably a 40 or 42 by the time I buy and resell. And so I have plenty of room in there to negotiate equity base.
Do you buy email lists as well?
I don't. I do.
I'm so glad you said no.
I have a pretty massive email campaign that I use and utilize, but it's all after contact prospects. So we're hitting our prospect 29 times with emails over a 90-day period after they said hello to us, along with the follow-up that we're going to hit. We're going to hit them 4 more times with follow-up on the call. If we've made them an offer, we're going to hit them additional 3 times. We're also going to send them another 3 pieces of mail. If they text us, because we use a text platform as well, because there's a lot of folks out there that they like that concept. And so we're hitting them 3 times there. So a prospect could be touched, going back out to them, 29, 3, 4, and 3. So whatever that adds up to, that's how many times we're saying hello. And email is a big part of it, but we're not doing the email blast. We absolutely have a warm contact or prospect.
Which is so important with email.
Yeah, I mean, what good is it if it goes into spam or it isn't getting opened? And then we look at what our emails are doing. So we do long copy and short copy, because we know some prospects like the long copy. It says everything, and some people just want to get to the cut to the chase and say, oh, okay, that's my answer right there. And so we mix it up.
Very cool. All right, well, it leads beautifully into the next things I want to talk about is systems, everything from cheap to sort of more sophisticated. What do you think is the bare minimum people should have when they're starting to go down this route, and how do you keep track if you're sending out 1,000 mailers and then you're trying to follow up? What do you think should be the minimum? As
a minimum, absolutely, they should have a phone system. I use a phone provider that I can grab a phone number for $5 a month per area code. And that provider allows me to look at charts and how many phone calls I got in per piece. And I have a different phone number on each piece that I mail out. So that, as a minimum, that should be your very, very minimum. You should know where what mail pieces, what marketing pieces are working.
Do you like 800 number or local number?
I have 1-800-SELL-FOR-CASH as an 800 number. And I only use it on my postcards and my professional letter. On my yellow letters and my zip letters and a couple of the other postcards, I don't use it on, because I'm a big cluster marketing believer. And if I used it on everything, then all my mail pieces would start looking the same, even though they're different on purpose. And it would really erode which piece is working best. So I'm real careful. And in fact, I don't use it as a phone number. I use it as a logo. So even the mail piece has a different phone number, even though that's a phone number.
Very good. Do you have any thoughts on which you think actually converts better, the 800 versus the local target?
Absolutely local, hands down.
Very good. All right. So we've got a minimum of a phone. Would Excel work for you, or you think we're just too far beyond that?
My coaching students, we have an Excel for them. And, if you're getting 1,400 prospects that you're marketing to on a monthly basis, and you're going to have a 2.5 to 5% response rate, depending on your mail piece, let's assume you have 2%. So now you have 28 phone calls on a monthly basis over a year period, 28 times 12, whatever that number is. You need a basic Excel. In our Excel, it tells the investor, if they put in today's date, it tells them in 15 days, call this person back. In telling them, it turns green. So call that person back. And in 30 days, it does the same thing. So they can open up the spreadsheet as long as, data in, data out kind of thing. As long as they utilize it, it's pretty simple. Now, we don't utilize it because we get over 1,000 calls a month. So we have to go to a CRM program that does all of our call scripts inbound, our call scripts outbound, and then all of our touches from our email campaigns. So on our CRM platform, that's pretty aggressive.
If people don't know what it is, it's a customer relations management system. So it's Excel, but it does so much more, and it's so much more sophisticated. And I think some people just really don't know what that term means or what it can do, and they've grown substantially in what they can do.
And I can tell someone if they came to me and they say, Mike, I want to set up a CRM system. What does that take? Well, that takes a dedicated staff member, probably 45 to 60 days, who has some idea of how to set a CRM up. Because it's not something that can be done casually, because you're setting inside of that system your inbound scripts, your outbound scripts, all of your tagging systems, all of your email broadcasts. And so everything has to work seamlessly, so you don't have to work your systems. Your systems are working themselves. And it takes a while to set up, but once it's set up, at that point, all you're doing is tweaking and manipulating a little bit of the script dialogue. But it's great.
No, agreed. I don't know what we would have done without. We were one of Microsoft's early partners in 2007 when they went online, and we had an Access database that almost exploded on us, and we almost lost 12 years of data. So I'm a big fan, even just because it's backed up to the cloud.
Yeah, that's another thing. At some level, even in the beginning, get a Box account, get some sort of a cloud account that you can store your documents someplace else, so when your computer crashes, your business doesn't crash. And, for what little bit of money it costs per month, they're reasonable to me. If you're going to be in business, people tell me, or ask me all the time, how much does it cost to be in business? Well, it does cost some money to be in business. You can buy a house without cash, but you can't be in business without cash. So
exactly.
There are some basics.
Let's talk a little bit about brand setup. Do you find you get a better response rate if it sort of appears it's from a mom and pops versus corporate?
To the answer is yes and no. And they're both yes and they're both no's. And that's what cluster marketing for me is all about. I know, as an example, I have 7 in my direct mail campaign. I have 7 different pieces of mail. Then they all look completely different. They're different sizes. They say similar things, but they say different things. So I have a text postcard that's orange. I have a yellow letter. I have a text postcard that's twice the size of the first one that's yellow. I have a greeting card, a professional letter, a zip letter, and another pictorial postcard. And I have found that if you speak to the professionals that want to hear professional language, you speak to them in your professional letter. In some people who will take the yellow letter and become attracted to that, which is not a professional letter, you'll do that. And then some of the pictorial postcard, that's cute. It's more of a nurturing cute than it is anything else, but some people will be attracted to that. The zip letter, which looks like a check coming in the mail, they'll be attracted to that. They all have different phone numbers on them. None of them say the same thing as far as where it came from. So the prospect, when they receive all 7 pieces, believe they have 7 investors marketing to them. So if I and 7 other people are marketing to them, I have an equal chance of getting that investor or that prospect to call me. But if a single investor is marketing to them, I have a 7 times chance of getting that prospect to call me. And it's much like if you look at cluster marketing, Coke bottling company does it really well. They have 6 bottled waters. So they're all water, but they have square bottles, tall bottles, round bottles, skinny bottles, blue bottles. They have all kinds of different bottled water for that reason, because people are attracted to different things. And we should use that same concept when we market.
Absolutely. Do your scripts change according to the number that they call in a little bit?
No. Everybody's calling Alex or Ryan. And because once we have a motivated prospect, the motivated prospect is the same. It's getting the motivated prospect to listen to us through our marketing piece that is required. But once we can get them to raise their hand, we know what they want after that. We know the trigger words that are hidden within the copy of our direct mail pieces that causes them to say yes. And if they're not ready to sell, we still want them to be happy with us, and because they're our prospect. And when we spend enough money to market to them once, we're going to hit them again and again and again. And so we don't want to erode that relationship. So we're nicey nice with everybody that calls. Some people will ask us why we think their house is for sale. We don't know if it is or not. We're just hoping it is. If it is, we'll ask them a bunch of questions, but we're always polite because we want them to call us back. And most likely they will, because it's a touch system. Mm-hmm. We typically don't do anything for the first time, kind of thing. So we're always being touched by it. And if I can touch them with one marketing piece and someone else is touching them and a for sale sign is touching them, and another one of my marketing pieces come at them and touch them, after a while, they're going to start thinking about selling their house, and that motivation is going to be there. What I can't do is create reasonable motivation. I can create unreasonable motivation. Like I don't know what kind of house you have, but I bet if I gave you $1 billion for it, you would sell it to me.
There's always a price, right?
Right, so that's unreasonable motivation, but I can't create reasonable motivation. That already has to be there. So my job as a marketer is to be there when that person's ready to sell.
I have so many questions. I know I'm not even going to get to half of these today, but I guess let's go into the marketing channel. The plethora of marketing channels you can use now are so beefy, and you've obviously got print seems like your home base. And do you drive a lot of them online? Do you offer that? Do you always offer them choices? Connect with us on Facebook, internet, or phone. Or are you trying to get them to do a specific thing?
I want them to call me. What I know about the internet, and we do a lot of marketing on the internet for our businesses. We don't do a lot of it for our house buying business. And the reason is I know it's a big phone book. And if you have the best product, so in my yellow letter business, we can state we're yellow letters, and so it's like Kleenex and tissue. We are the brand kind of thing. But in the house buying business, we're just one of many. It's very difficult to build a brand in the house buying business because your customer comes back to you every 7 or 8 years. Even with a referral base, you can build that, but it's still harder than what you can do if you have a customer that orders pizza every week. So we don't send people to the phone book on purpose. What we have a website. And it's really there to answer the question when people say, do you have a website? And I'm a believer that the website shouldn't say a lot. It should say enough for them to pick up the telephone or fill out a form and call us. And it's our responsibility to have a response time that's pretty fast. So if someone was on the internet and they filled out a form, they're getting a call back within minutes, because they're going to be filling out someone else's form. My job is to get them on the phone with me if they filled out that form and start solving their urgency issue and having them stop filling out someone else's form.
Do you feel that sellers have gotten a little bit more demanding on the turnaround time?
Not really. They just like, our sellers anyway, I don't know about anybody else's, our sellers like the program of knowing that they're going to receive cash on the day of their choice. And that cash or that date is a date forward. So it could be in a week and it could be in 6 months, but they just like the idea that it's sold. And not only sold, it's one of the things we say is not only sold, but sold to somebody that can afford to buy it. And we use a lot of embedded commands. We use a lot of pacing, mimicking, and positive and negative reinforcements when we communicate with our prospect that causes them to believe they can stop looking for somebody else and they have found their buyer. Because ultimately, It's kind of like if a seller or someone wanted pizza, and they wouldn't call two pizza companies to order a pizza. They would call one with the idea that that one would deliver the pizza at the time they said. Well, we as investors have to be those pizza companies. We have to give that same urgency or that feel of urgency to the seller that says, you can stop calling, and we are your buyer. And when we can relay that and do it on purpose, they'll stop calling, and they'll remember to call us back if it's not now that they need to sell their house.
Okay. How about, because we only got about 3.5 minutes left, how about some quick tip? No, I love it. I could end up talking to you for several hours. I knew this list was a little bit too ambitious. Mailers, you talk a lot about cluster marketing, so that's basically sending a lot of different sizes. So you said that they don't necessarily know it's from a single investor. It actually looks like it's from several.
Right.
Such an interesting idea, and I've never heard it called that before. It makes a lot of sense. How about some top tips on mailers that people might not know? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No. The first one would probably be mail, just in general mail. So a lot of people don't realize you should just do it. And don't do it yourself. I mean, it's not even cost effective to do it yourself. Spend a little bit more money and have it done for you. Speed matters in some prospect groups, but in most it doesn't. So the stamp choice, look at standard stamps over first-class stamps because you can put more postage on the ground with a standard stamp, although slower than you can with a first-class stamp. And it's a numbers game. And if the receiver of the mail piece doesn't know the difference, then why go to the most expensive type unless the prospect group requires it? Color matters. Color matters a lot in your ink choice. If there's some pieces that should be multiple colors, some pieces can be sometimes just black, but they shouldn't be. Color really, really, really matters. Don't cut costs by cutting those little costs that really make a mail piece more effective than another one. And if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. We're not reinventing anything here. And we know what mail pieces work, which ones don't. Although we have hundreds of them on our site, there's 7 of them that I know that work. And if there were 7 different ones, I'd use those, but I'm using the ones I use because I know I get the best response rate. Then the other thing is understand when you do a direct mail campaign, let's assume that for a second you're using a yellow letter. I'm going to be really fast. Understand that the classic, I want to buy your house at this address, please call this phone number. That classic yellow letter is great. Just understand it's going to create phone calls. And sometimes an investor is not set up for the phone call. So if you're not set up, use a yellow letter or mail piece that filters for you, that qualifies you to the prospect and the prospect to you. And let that work. And then send everything, if you're not prepared, send everything to the same voicemail. I use a 2-minute infomercial on my off hours. During my live hours, we're answering the phone. But during my off hours, it's a 2-minute infomercial on why our program is a better fit for them than anybody else's program. And we get about a 60% leave rate. And we capture their phone number anyway. We're going to call them back whether they've left us a message or not. But we know when we get a 60% capture rate, that's pretty cool. We know we now have someone who's starting to raise their hand because we're looking for Horseshack from Welcome Back Carter. We're looking for the guy that just shoots his hand up and says, I'm the guy. I want to sell my house. Look at me. Look at me over here. And that's all driven by marketing done responsibly.
Awesome. All right. Well, final 2 questions. First, any favorite books that you think people should absolutely read this weekend?
Oh, the Bible.
Okay. That and any specific marketing, business, negotiation?
The other book that everybody should read is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. If you want to understand how to systemize a business and understand how to take yourself out of the technician into the manager and onto the entrepreneur and what those roles are for and how utilizing those roles can create success, then that book everybody should read.
Excellent. All right. With that, unfortunately, we're run out of time. Thank you so much, Michael. And on the website with the show notes, you'll find links to all of the websites that you can reach Michael at. Thank you so much, Michael.
It was fun. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.